from WP Speedfix. In this video, we're going to talk about WooCommerce caching plugins and plugins that help WooCommerce speed. So if you're on this video, you're probably looking to make your WooCommerce site faster. So let's talk through several plugins and tools that we use for WooCommerce optimization. Not just caching plugins, but let's run through the list. So let's start with the typical caching plugins. There's really two that we use and recommend. One thing to keep in mind with speed optimization is that reliability beats speed. So we want to err on the side of caution, especially with a WooCommerce site. We want to be conservative and we want reliable plugins we can trust. So we don't want to just go and use the most complicated plugin. We want something that is reliable as opposed to as fast as humanly possible and things break. So these are the two plugins we've used on thousands of sites. They are not necessarily the fastest, but they are the most reliable. So like I said, reliability beats speed. So in terms of our selection criteria for these plugins, we would put these two at the top, and then every other plugin we'd put secondary to that, including, we'll get a lot of questions about Lightspeed. Lightspeed isn't necessarily faster than any other web server. Nginx is faster than Lightspeed. It just has a lot of good marketing. So the Lightspeed plugin we tend to avoid. It's very complicated. It has a lot of settings, and if you put one of those settings wrong, you can often break your WooCommerce site. So again, reliability beats speed. So you're better off with one of these plugins that are a little bit more simple, but you won't have issues with the site because you've over optimized something. That said, you'll see here there's a note here, and I'll put these in the video notes. Just be conservative with JavaScript optimization on WooCommerce. So WooCommerce and WordPress runs as a JavaScript-based CMS, and if you mess with the JavaScript too much, you're going to break things, and you don't want to break cart and checkout. Those especially are very JavaScript heavy, so you want to, again, be conservative with JavaScript optimization. Specifically, I'm talking about a couple of options inside both these plugins where you can pause or delay the JavaScript, delay executing the JavaScript until the user interacts with the site. Now, that makes the site look really good in something like a GTmetrix test or a Google PageSpeed Insight test, but doesn't necessarily make it faster than the real world. And more often than not, it will make it slower because things are waiting on the user to interact with the site before they load and render, and it will break things. So you're basically creating JavaScript errors that are not visible, that are breaking things to do with cart, checkout. Often it's menus or elements that are active elements, elements that do things on the page that's not immediately evident that they're broken. So just keep that in mind. So when you're optimizing, be conservative, especially with a WooCommerce site. So the two we recommend, WP Rocket and Flying Pages. So wprocketplugin.com and flyingpress.net. Those are the two that we would recommend. Let me talk about them for a minute. WP Rocket is probably a bit more simplified. So if you're DIYing, this one is probably a better option. It has less features. It has a lot of complexity under the bonnet. So you can do a lot with it. It has a lot of add-on plugins if you want to get really specific and dig into things. So just keep that in mind. So WP Rocket, probably better for the DIYer. Prices are about the same. I think this is about $60 a year there, $59 a year per website. So pretty good in terms of price. Flying Press, let's just go back. Just logged in there. So pricing, what are we looking at? So similar, $50 a year. So same in terms of price, not much different. Flying Press is a bit more complex and has a few more options. And because of that, it's probably more appropriate for someone who's a bit more tech savvy. So just keep that in mind. So those are the two we recommend. WP Rocket for the real DIYer who doesn't really know what they're doing and they just need something that works. Flying Press if you're more technical and you want to get in and play with settings. So that's page caching. So just keep in mind that with plugins for speed optimization, a lot of them have crossover. So a lot of them will do multiple things. They don't just do caching, they do other speed optimizations as well. So you don't want to use two caching plugins, but you can certainly use multiple optimization plugins. So you can use WP Rocket or Flying Pages or Flying Press. And you can use Perfmatters on top. So long as you don't duplicate the features, turn the same features on both plugins, you'll be okay. And some plugins are better at some things than others. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's go to the next one. So that's kind of page caching. The next one is database caching or object caching. So This will speed up your site. It'll speed up the site in any way that is reliant on the database. So that's logged into the back end, managing orders, doing things with products, that sort of thing. So managing the e-commerce functions. And then on the front end of the site, particularly for users who are logging in, add to cart, anything to do with checkout and cart things and checkout, it's going to make those operations faster. So it reduces the database load, and it's going to have more effect on a bigger website. So to use object caching, you need a couple of things. So you need an object caching plugin, but the hosting also has to support the software required to drive that, the server software. So that's Redis, R-E-D-I-S. So typically the hosts we recommend on our WP Speedfix website, they all have some form of object caching. Some of them have Redis, some of them have memcached. Some of them you don't need a plugin, it just works out of the box. So this is kind of a caching box to check for WooCommerce. Here is the Redis cache plugin is free. Oh, here it is. I've already loaded it up. There is a paid version, but the free version, unless you have a big site, is probably fine for you. But again, you need to have Redis installed on your hosting to make this work. But that will speed up anything related to the database, anything related to users logged into the site doing things. So that's object caching or database caching. And then you have a content delivery network, or a CDN. So a CDN is a network of servers around the world that host part of the website. So basically you're moving the workload off the hosting onto the CDN or content delivery network. So the CDN we use and recommend is Cloudflare. It's the biggest CDN in the world. About 20% of all website traffic goes through Cloudflare. There is a $5 a month add-on called APO. And here's the page for it. You can read to it. I'll read it and I'll link to it. So automatic platform optimization for WordPress. Basically, it's a fancy word for saying it does caching at the Cloudflare layer. So it's similar to page caching. So basically, the entire page is cached on Cloudflare's network. So particularly if you have a site targeting international traffic, that's going to help a lot. So it's only $5 a month. It's dirt cheap. It used to only be available on a $200 a month plan, just to give you some reference there. So it'll do a few things. It'll move the workload, even more of the workload off the hosting onto Cloudflare's network. What else will do? It'll reduces the impact of geography on the site speed. So anytime traffic has to travel across an ocean, it's basically going to make it 1 second slower. So with Cloudflare, it kind of shortcuts that and solves that, because the data or the pages are loading off the CDN node or Cloudflare node closest to the visitor. So it allows the hosting, it frees up resources from the hosting. It allows the site to cater for much more traffic, because you have a bigger, basically more horsepower there to serve the website, and it removes the impact of geography on site speed. So given the price, it's well worth doing. So we recommend that for all our customers. So it has intelligence built in. So once somebody starts shopping, they put something in the cart or they log into WordPress, that layer of caching turns off. So you don't have those caching conflicts that you might have experienced in the past with other plugins. So that's Cloudflare APO service. So that's that. Let's talk about these other plugins and optimizations. So we just talked about Perfmatters before. So that is kind of a general purpose WordPress speed optimization or performance plugin. And the things that you can turn on and off a whole bunch of settings inside WordPress in this plugin and WooCommerce. So it's great at doing that. But one of the things that we love is around lazy loading. So it can preload, or it can set the priority of the loading order to load images on the page first. So I think up to the first 5 images it will load as priority, which will speed up the site render. So particularly when you've got someone clicking through category pages, product pages with multiple images, that can speed things up substantially. So that's one of the ways we use it, but it has a lot of features in there you can turn on and off. I think it probably has an explanation here on the website, or it has a list. Yeah, here we go. So you can see here, you really get into all these really granular, fine details. And you can really get in there and optimize at a very granular level that the other plugins won't do. And like I said, you can use this in conjunction with Flying Press or Flying Pages or WP Rocket, as long as you don't cross over the optimizations. You're not trying to do the same optimization on 2 different plugins, like, for example, having lazy loading running on both plugins. You don't want to do that. So just keep in mind that, and you'll be fine using multiple optimization plugins. Let's look at what else do we have. So that's Perfmatters. Okay, so there's a few other things here that I'd recommend you do. If you're looking at this page or looking at this video, you're interested in WooCommerce speed optimization. So I'll link you to a few videos here. Tuning the Robots.txt file we have a video on that. So particularly on a WooCommerce site, there's a lot of strange crawling going on. So we kind of had a templated, and you can see the link there. It has more in the video, but a templated robots.txt file you can use that will reduce load on the site and help boost your SEO. So it's worth spending time looking at that. And then there's a video here on database optimization. So 2 things you want to do with WooCommerce to make the database fast is, 1, you want to use high performance auto storage, which is a new database format in WooCommerce that speeds things up. So it has new database tables to manage products and orders and anything related to the e-commerce, which will speed up those e-commerce functions. And then the other thing you want to do is make sure you're running InnoDB database tables. So database tables in WordPress or MySQL come in 2 different formats: the older MyISAM and the newer InnoDB. So InnoDB is faster. And the main reason why is because and there's all detail in the video, but basically with MyISAM, only one write to the database can happen at a time. So in a busy WooCommerce site, there's a lot of things being written to the database. So the writes essentially queue up for each table. With the newer table, the InnoDB tables, multiple writes can happen to a database table at the same time, so long as it's not the same row in the database. So it's kind of similar to the old style emailing around an Excel spreadsheet, as opposed to using something like Google Sheets where multiple people can be logged into it once and making edits. So basically the newer database tables are faster because those writes don't queue. So that can make quite a big difference on a WooCommerce side, because you have people adding to the cart all day long, doing things with the cart and checkout. So we'll speed that up. So there's more details on that video about those 2 things. There's several other optimizations, but those are 2 big ones that will move the needle. It'll noticeably make the back end of a WooCommerce site faster, especially things cart checkout, will noticeably make those faster as well. And then also, if you want to get into speed stuff in granular detail, have a look at Vital Signs Tracker. This is our site speed tracking app. So one problem we have with Core Web Vitals and site speed in general is the tools and data. We either use Google PageSpeed Insights, and it's a test. It's synthetic. It's called a lab test or a synthetic test. It's not real, so it doesn't reflect real world speed. We can use Core Web Vitals data from Google, but that's based on a 28-day average and doesn't give us very specific information. It's not very granular or fine-tuned, so we can't do kind of really granular fine-tuned actions or get insights from it. So we built Vital Signs Tracker to basically grab the same data Google is grabbing, but we can run really fine-grained granular reports. So we can install it today, in a couple of days' time, have a lot of data on what's happening on the website. That allows us to see which pages are slow or fast and why they're slow or fast, and then do something about it. So here's an example. I've just run a report last 14 days for a client. You can see here you have the high-level data like you might have seen in other tools or other reports. So this one is green across the board. And I'll show you an issue that this site has that most WooCommerce sites have as well, where paid traffic is slow. So if I just do gad_source, and this one is a work in progress, but you'll see here this is paid traffic, Google Ads traffic, and see we've gone from green to some yellows here, but you can see here we actually have some red. So this is paid traffic because this customer started a new campaign doing display advertising, and the site wasn't set up to ignore these query strings, so this traffic is not cached at all. So it's all hitting the site uncached, which means it's slow. So we're seeing a lot of red here from paid traffic, which is bad. So that's our most expensive traffic. So we definitely don't want it to be slow like that. So Vital Signs Tracker can give you a report like this of the data across the entire site and allow you to pinpoint what's going on, especially with a WooCommerce site. If you're using any particular kind of marketing tools in conjunction with Google Shopping ads, like click fraud tracking, or even something like CallRail, Vital Signs Tracker can be very useful for digging into that data and seeing how the site is actually performing for different types of users. You can also do things like, this one is not a WooCommerce site, but we do have segments here where we can look at the logged in versus logged out user speed. So that's very important for WooCommerce because you have a lot of users logged in. So you can see the logged in performance versus the logged out, and quite often logged out will be fine, logged in is really slow. One way to help fix that is with caching those logged in sessions. But we can do a lot of Vital Signs Tracker, so check it out at vitalsignstracker.com. So that's pretty much it for this video. So we'll put these notes in the description. If you want help with your site speed, go to wpspeedfix.com and we can do it for you. So if you go to the website, go to the homepage, there is a free audit you can request there. So if you want paid help, basically, request an audit there. One of our team will look at the site and come back to you. If you just want to test drive free tools, so we have a bunch of free tools here. No opt-in required for any of these. They take 60 to 90 seconds. So free SEO audit, free Core Web Vitals report. This will only work for established sites with some traffic, but it'll tell you how the site is performing. And free WordPress site speed test that is powered by AI. So it'll tell you a whole bunch of optimizations you might not be aware of on the site. That's pretty much it for this video. I will leave you to it. If you have any questions, post in the comments and we will come back to you. Cheers.